Good morning, dear first year students. We have various literary terms in our course of study. Literary terms means those terms or those words which are important for us to know if we are students of literature. We have done a lot of literary terms like sonnet, ode, lyric, ballad, hyperbole, pun, etc. Today I am going to do another literary term with you, another important literary term, which is also a historical term, and the name is Renaissance. The spelling for Renaissance is Renaissance, and it is pronounced Renaissance. Renaissance means rebirth. Those students who have studied history, they know what is Renaissance. And we are going to study the impact, the effect, the result of Renaissance on literature. Now, literature covers a lot of aspects. Literature does not only restrict itself to reading and writing, but all the historical and social and religious and scientific movements, they also affect literature as well. So, Renaissance was a period in the history which not only affected literature but it also affected the other arts. And what was the historical background, what was its impact on other arts, and especially what was its impact on literature, we will do in today's class. So some broad points of Renaissance are as follows. Renaissance, first of all, meant rebirth. Rebirth of art, culture, literature. It also meant something which led from darkness to light. Means in that particular period, a lot of new discoveries, new inventions were made which led the era from darkness to light. Secondly, it was a period of humanism. We will discuss this term later. Then, it was also a period of geniuses. A lot of geniuses in the fields of art, literature were born and they gave their best in order to enrich this period. Then there was also a rebirth in the field of architecture, science with art. Then there were a lot of explorations. Then there is a Renaissance religion. I will talk with you later. Then in the end we will talk of the end of Renaissance. So let us begin with Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Renaissance was a fervent period of European cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth. I repeat, it was a fervent period of European cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages. And generally it is believed that it took place, it means the period of Renaissance, rough period of Renaissance, ranged from the 14th century to the 17th century. Then it was the rebirth also of philosophy along with literature and art. Some of the great thinkers, authors, statesmen, scientists, and artists born and thrived during this period. So it was a great era of global exploration, and rebirth of knowledge in all the fields. Now, when I said that it was a period which led the world from darkness to light, it means it was a period after the Dark Ages. And the Dark Ages signified war, ignorance, famine, pandemics, and Black Death. Then, after this after the Dark Ages, there came a period of light. So, some historians, however, believe that such grim depictions of the Middle Ages were exaggerated, but it is a historical fact that there were great pandemics like Black Death during that time also, as we are facing the COVID pandemic now. Now, humanism. The most important feature of Renaissance was humanism. There was a cultural movement called humanism which began in Italy, and humanism promoted sympathy towards common human being, and it promoted the idea that man was the center of his own universe and people should embrace human achievements in education, classic arts, literature, and science. Then there was there occurred a very significant invention of printing press. Now, what happened with the invention of printing press? Knowledge became common. A lot of literature was printed and circulated. So, by this medium, there was a revival of culture and literature. The Greek and Roman manuscripts were translated and they were circulated by the help of printing press among the common people. So it was a period of rich circulation of art and literature. Then, in this period, a lot of geniuses were born. Leonardo da Vinci was a great Italian painter. Then there was Erasmus, he was a humanist. Then Descartes, he was the French philosopher. Then Galileo, he was Italian astronomer and physicist and engineer who pioneered work with telescopes, and with the help of telescopes people could know more about astronomy. Then Copernicus. Now, Copernicus was a very great mathematician and astronomer who first gave this theory that Earth is not the center of the solar system of the universe, but Sun is the center and Earth moves around it. He gave the Copernican theory. And before this theory, Ptolemaical theory was in vogue. According to the Ptolemaical theory, Earth was the center. If you read John Donne's poem, The Sun Rising, you will notice the geographical thing in that, the false geographical misconception that Earth is the center and Sun moves around it. But Copernicus, who was born during the Renaissance period, gave this theory that Sun is the center of the universe. Then came Hobbes. Hobbes was the great English philosopher and he's the author of Leviathan. Then Geoffrey Chaucer, a very well-known figure, the father of English literature, who wrote Canterbury Tales. Then Dante. Dante is an Italian philosopher, poet and writer, and he is also a political thinker who gave the book Divine Comedy. Then came Machiavelli. He is the Italian diplomat and philosopher. Then Titan, he is the Italian printer, William Tyndale. Then in the later ages came John Milton and William Shakespeare. So this was the period filled with gems of artists. A lot of artists were born and they thrived and they gave their contribution in the field of art, astronomy, literature, painting, and as a result of their contribution, this era was enriched. Then, if we talk of the exploration, in this period of Renaissance, the new world was explored. It was the age of discovery, and several important explorations were made. Voyagers, they took a lot of expeditions to travel into the entire globe. They discovered the new shipping routes to America, India, and Far East, and explorers trekked across areas that they weren't fully mapped. So the globe came together, earth came together. Now, with the discovery of new continents, the exchange of art and culture took place. So, again, this enriched the period. Now, there was a new religion given in Renaissance. Now, till now, only Catholicism was in vogue. But Martin Luther, he protested Catholicism and he gave the Reformation, the idea of Reformation in the Christian religion. So, as a result, Protestant religion was formed. So, it was a revolutionary movement that caused a split into the Catholic Church. Now, the end of Renaissance. Scholars believe that the end of Renaissance came as a result of several factors. Now, what were those factors? By the end of 15th century, many wars took place which plagued the Italian peninsula. The Spanish, French, and German invaders, they battled for a long period of time, and they invaded they invaded the whole globe. Then the changing routes led to a period of economic decline also, and limited the amount of money that wealthy contributors could spend on arts and literature. Then later, a movement also came called Counter Reformation. The Catholic Church censored artists and writers in response to the Protestant Reformation. So, the artists were discouraged to create new pieces of art. So, many Renaissance thinkers feared of being too bold, which curbed their creativity. So, this was all about Renaissance. I hope you understood the concept of Renaissance and how Renaissance affected the fields of science, literature, arts, commerce, and how all these developments resulted in the thriving of literature. Thank you.